Today on This Week in Startups, it's a special Shark Tank and Ask Jason Takeover episode. Mark Thompson joins us to do the news, and Tyler will give us some of his deepest, darkest insights. All that and so much more right now on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. It's a very special Ask Jason and Shark Tank episode of This Week in Startups. It's episode 99, and I've put on a suit. I've got a tie. A lot of people are asking me around the office, Jason, what's the story? Why the suit and the tie? Obviously, had a very important meeting today. The most important meeting you could have in Los Angeles, actually. You guys know who I met with today, right?
I'm glad you paused, because I also...
Think about it. What would be the most important meeting for me to have in Los Angeles? Who is the most important person I could be meeting with?
Angelina, the girl on the billboards.
No.
Angelina?
I thought you were going to say Angelina Jolie, and I was going to say close.
Close.
Very close. You want to take one guess, Mark Thompson?
In LA is what's throwing me. If you said the most important meeting.
Because LA people will get that joke. People from outside LA.
In Los Angeles had a very important
meeting. And you're not being facetious. It's a really important meeting.
This was the most important meeting I've taken this year.
Let me take a peek.
It was the most important meeting I've taken in a couple years, actually.
It's got to be about money.
I'm just taking a peek at his calendar here.
You have access to my calendar, but not the personal stuff.
Yeah, I don't see it.
All right. Very simple. I went to a tour, an interview for nursery school. That's the only way you're getting me to put a tie on. My wife came out of the...
You got to make a good impression.
Oh, yes. I came... Hey, whoa, I'm here. I come in and... But here's the great thing. Now, I'm not going to say the name of the nursery school, whatever, but this is the most elite nursery school in Los Angeles. They have 18 spots open. Of those 18 spots, 10 of them go to legacy, siblings, and, whatever.
So then there's 8 spots.
There are 30 people on this tour, and this tour occurs multiple times a year. And number of celebrities kids go to this school.
This is what people have to understand. In LA, you're like an uber powerful, influential guy. But in LA, there are tons of other people who have glamour, they have celebrity.
My currency.
So that's why it makes it. Yeah, your currency is.
Yeah, my currency's in the valley. In the valley, forget it. I'm in. They would want me, but here it's like So anyway, we go on the tour. My wife, she's very clever. She went to a teaching class with the other teachers in the school, so she's bonding. She's so smart.
Oh, she's so
sweet and charming.
Yeah.
So she's already infiltrated the school. Anyway. I get back to my wife's like, oh my God, I don't want to go there, but nobody gets in. There's literally 100 people competing for 8 spots. And no, it's not going to happen. And she's really heartbroken about the whole thing. I get home, there's an email. Oh, hey, Jason, I'm a parent at the school and I'm a volunteer and I'm involved in the PTA. And I noticed that you were taking the tour of this morning. I would love to bring you in and talk to you about the school, whatever. Somebody recognized me on the tour who's a parent who's involved in the PTA, and all of a sudden, boom, I got my in.
Wow. You're so on it. That's
so lucky. My wife is just texting me right now, I can't believe it. It's incredibly boring to the people
No, but
at home.
This is weird because schools and getting your kid into a school, whatever the school is really what it's about when you're a parent. Yeah. But it's so funny that you'd have to dress up and dress to impress and then act to impress.
Yeah. I basically wear ties when it's a wedding, a funeral, or I have to get my daughter into a school. Anyway, we're going to have the 100th episode on Friday. We've got a great guest, Lior, who is the person who created the Hot Pot service on Google. Should be very exciting. Let's see here. The launch conference, February 23rd and 24th. It's getting exciting. I've had a lot of phone calls the last couple of days, and a lot of people have already started to sign up. And if you would like to sign up, you can use the code TWIST, T-W-I-S-T, and get yourself 10% off at the event. And another thing very excited about is SendGrid. SendGrid, they are the industry leader in delivering transactional email. Tyler uses them. Tyler, explain to everybody, what exactly is transactional email?
It's kind of a simple concept. Everyone's used it, whether they know it or not. It's those emails that you get when you subscribe to a new service, or when you change your password, or you forgot your password, or a friend is following you now, or they've tagged you in a photo, and all those emails that are mission critical to that website succeeding.
Yes. You send them through SendGrid.
You use SendGrid for that so that they don't get, if you're going to build your own service.
Yeah, and you may have heard of some of the clients, like Foursquare, FormSpring, Hootsuite, SlideShare. A lot of people have used this service, and it's going great for them. And if you're doing account registration, confirmation, password reset notifications, friend follower requests, these are like the lifeblood of any social service, including editorial like mine, and you're going to need to use it. They're hiring web application engineers, backend engineers, and sales and marketing. Go sign up and use iWatchTwist, and you'll get 3 months for free. 3 months free? Wow,
I think
that is great. And you can
that
apply
was
that.
For me. I think that
oh
was
my
for
gosh.
me. Yeah.
You can apply that to an existing account as well. So if you're already, and I know a lot of people have said in the chat room that they already use SendGrid, guess what? This is a sponsor first. If you're an existing user, they're going to comp you for 3 months. Use the iWatchTwist
promo code.
Promo code. That's what it's called. Promo code. And just no spaces, obviously. Thank you to SendGrid. Mark Thompson, I asked you to sit in, and Tyler sit in for the Ask Jason segment. Let's do an Ask Jason. Okay, I have on the line James and Peter calling from the +44. Where are you calling from, James and Peter?
Hi, good afternoon. We're in London.
What time is it in London? It's 1 o'clock here, plus 9 hours? 10 o'clock?
17 minutes past 9.
9, 10. Okay, perfect. And what are you guys doing? You're having some fish and chips, some bangers and mash?
Just
What's
thinking the
going on?
same thing. It's
Yeah, all that.
Gin and tonic, Mary Poppins.
Oh, very nice. Tyler and I were just in London town. We had a nice time. Yeah. Smashing.
Yeah.
What was the Chinese food place we went to 2 times ago that was really good? Remember that place?
Hakkasan.
Hakkasan? You ever heard of this place?
Hakkasan, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good, huh? Chinese, downstairs? Do we?
Yep.
Yeah, I just pulled out the Yelp, and the Yelp is always correct.
strong.
Yeah.
They knew it.
They knew it. That's good. Tyler's got very expensive taste. I could tell you a really great story about Tyler. We go out, the first time he's working for me, he's only working for me, what, 2 months?
5 weeks at that point.
He's working for me for 5 weeks. I invite him out to dinner with the management team. We go out to have steak at Boa. He looks at the menu. I order a New York strip. It's like $45, whatever, but everybody orders a steak. He goes, yeah, I'll take the Wagyu, $140. One piece of advice. Even if you want it, if you know you're going on a business thing, do not order something more expensive than the CEO. James and Peter, you have a question for us. Let's hear it.
You're not going to let
James and Peter, you can start with that tip.
Yes, that's your tip. That's a Jason tip. But let's hear your question.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so we co-founded a company called GoFic.com, and we spent an awful lot of money developing the product. But we're running out of cash now to actually solidly market it properly while we go through our phases of funding. What's the best way to get as much traffic as possible and for as small as capital as possible while we're raising funds to do this properly?
Yeah, so the name of the service is GoFit, did you say?
GoFic, F-I-Q, as in feedback, ideas, and questions.com.
Okay, so the cost of traffic and the type of traffic varies greatly. So what does GoFic do?
We're can I give you a quick 3-minute summary?
Give me the 30-second.
The 30-second. Okay. We're an online communication portal between the consumers and companies. If you've got feedback, ideas, and questions to any company, we have thousands listed and thousands of products listed. We want people to GoFic it.
Okay. So I get it. It's feedback loop, and I'm assuming that these companies will then pay you for the service, or there's some premium service. In a way, it's like Get Satisfaction, perhaps, would be.
Similar, but we're doing on a very much a European twist, and we differ with it. Our basic product with one company, one administrator, one product is free.
So one of the best ways, now you want to get as much traffic as possible in a shorter period of time or as consistently for a long period of time, because that's really going to be one of the questions. If you want to just burn a ton of money, you can just buy traffic off of Google and you buy keywords. You could use a service like Trada to then go buy the keywords, and you can learn what keywords for people who are searching for feedback or suggestion box stuff, but I doubt that people are searching for that. So there is press and doing the purple cow type stuff, unique, memorable stuff like industry B2B press. That can work a little bit Grasshopper did that famously by sending out the chocolate-covered grasshoppers. MailChimp is incredibly good at branding with their hats and whatnot. Of course, the best branding is the branding that you don't do, but your customers do. So getting your customers charged up about branding is going to be the best thing. So if you can email them and say, hey, if you know a business and you can let this business know about what we do, we're going to give you a free 6 months of service. That's the kind of stuff that could be instantly catalyzing and costs $0. The other thing that costs $0 is writing about the virtues of your product and telling your story. So you hear on This Week in Startups, you're telling your story to a certain extent. I'm assuming you have a corporate blog. I'm assuming you have great stories, or your customers have great stories of somebody had a suggestion and it actually got put on the menu. Somebody had a question, they answered it, and they became a $100,000 customer. If you can figure out ways to get those type of stories told, either by local news, on your blog yourself, on Twitter, a funny one, a quixotic one, those are all interesting ways. But Mark, you actually work in local news and have for a while, and so you actually know the local businesses. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this is one of the interesting. What's interesting about this is your notion about getting essentially your users to continue the message.
Right.
That strikes me as having some staying power. In terms of getting media attention, always the trick is some event, some charity tie-in, some because let's assume neither one of those is available to you, some quirky question or fulfillment, question answered or fulfillment moment that you felt was, again, just quirky or weird, and get it out in a press release, or what they call it, a one sheet, a who,
and
what,
get
where.
that to the local news stations.
BBC One, BBC Two, there in Britain.
So it could be, if you, let's say you had a business and you said, hey, this mother asked us, sent in a suggestion that, this business didn't have a children's menu and it didn't have like a children's playtime in the afternoon, but the restaurant wasn't open, and she brought her mommy and me friends, and now every afternoon this struggling business now has a lunch business catering to moms. People love to see babies and moms, so you could actually manufacture one of these stories. And so
absolutely, absolutely, it doesn't have to be authentic. I mean, to be perfectly blunt about it, it doesn't have to be authentic.
And most of these things are manufactured. So what I would do is I would find somebody who's a mommy, find a restaurant that doesn't have lunch, and I would say, okay, Mom, you're going to make the suggestion that they have a lunch thing. We're going to have everybody come for lunch, and it might actually work if you facilitated that. That moms would pay, $10 to have, all you can eat lunch with their kids and their friends, and kids can run around and scream all they want because they put down a carpet for the kids and they put down toys. Tyler, what are your thoughts?
So your question initially was how to get the most marketing for the dollar. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Or for no dollars.
Or for no dollars, implied.
As many users as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give a somewhat facetious answer here. The correct answer in that context is to, I don't know if you can do this in the UK, but here you can. I looked into it. You can get a van with the logo of your company on the side.
Yep.
Flip off a police officer and drive slowly for hours and call the news crews and helicopters to follow you around town and get yourself on
a low-speed chase.
A low-speed chase.
So
while not breaking any traffic violations.
Wait, no. First of all,
but once they let you up, you have to pull over.
Yeah, you have to pull up.
No, you do not.
What?
Yeah, I'm
going to.
Once they tell you pull over,
Here's a disclaimer. Anybody who's watching this, this is not an insight.
Are you soon back in London town, and would you like to join us?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so anyway, what he's saying is event type stuff.
My point is creativity is that's part of that equation.
Right.
The more creative you are, the less you'll have to pay for marketing. The less creative you are, the more you have to pay for marketing.
Or what's a really screwed up thing in London? Like, let's say there's something really screwed up there, like the Tube or something, or those double-decker buses. I don't know what's screwed up. But let's say the Tube is really screwed up. Like, it's dirty. I mean, like, with those long escalators, and it's crowded. I mean, there's a lot of, this is coming from a New Yorker. But anyway, get like 5 really super attractive people. It doesn't have to be just girls, but hey. And then have them give out a suggestion that says, go fix, the London Tube. And it's a survey. How would you fix the London Tube? Enter your things here, give them like a couple of things, and at the bottom say, see the results, and we're going to pick the best 3 answers, and the best 3 answers are going to get an iPod, and they're going to get whatever. And you give that out at a thing and just say, how would you fix the Tube? How would you fix the Tube? Ma'am, can you tell us how you would fix the Tube? Boom. And then you get somebody with a camera and you interview people, ma'am, how would you fix the tube? Give us your one suggestion. And then you cut that and make it a viral video because you would get all kinds of fun. We have a thing called Jay Walking by this comedian Jay Leno, where he interviews stupid people and they give stupid answers. He stole it from Howard Stern. So anyway, those are all like those weird things that cost nothing. But I'm going to step back for 1 second. Why are you guys so desperate to do this quickly? Because you're running out of money? Is that the issue?
We're just very keen to get users on the site. So as you probably know from this kind of model, the more feedback, ideas, questions we get, the more value will be to the clients who we want to sign up and get to manage this process through our system.
Yeah, so if you have clients who've already signed up for the service, what you could do is, I think just asking people for suggestions, I think will build business. This is just a theory. But if you put a person outside of a dry cleaner, and it was an attractive, good-looking person with a pink tie, and you had like a thing that says, how could you, do you have any ideas on how to make dry cleaning a better service? What could a dry cleaner do? And you give them a suggestion for them. And you say, hey, we're just taking suggestions today, and if you give us a suggestion, we're going to give you a free coupon with every suggestion, we're going to give you a free coupon for a free press shirt. You basically have used what's called the reciprocation effect in psychology. You're giving them something, the coupon for the free press shirt. They're giving you something, so they feel good about the exchange, and you might actually build a relationship with the business. So actually, I think your whole suggestion box could be a front for acquiring customers through couponing. I mean, it's a really interesting dynamic. When you ask somebody for help, they give it to you, right? I mean, in general. And when you ask people for advice, they're more than happy to give it. So I love this idea of these businesses, you providing the person, the engaging person. It could be one of you two guys. You're pretty good-looking guys. You go out there in front of the store and just say, "Hey, how would you make the store better? Can you give us an idea? And if you give us a suggestion, we'll give you a free lemonade or something." So all of those things where you get closer to the customer, I think that those things are virtuous. With Mahalo, we're teaching people how to do stuff. I've been trying to get closer and closer to the teachers who are on Mahalo who are teaching people how to do stuff and the people who are actually learning stuff and asking them, like, did our video on how to brine a turkey work or not? Because I used it for my turkey. And, like eating your own dog food, it's called in the industry. So great question. Yeah. I hope our answers helped.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great help.
Yeah, and everybody go check out GoFiq.com. Nice short domain name. I give the domain name like an 8, but you could build it into a 9 or 10 if the service works. And you got nice videos up there to explain to people what's going on. I like it. The design's a little bit cluttered on the top level, but it's a 1.0 product, so good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. See what I did right there?
Cheers.
I added a cheers at the end.
I noticed it. It was
very
good.
subtle.
Very subtle. I liked it.
Very subtle, right? Very good then. All right. No need to slag on them.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, boys. I like that. It was a good question. They stayed up late to watch the program. There's people watch the program from all over.
It's only 9 o'clock, so it's not that late.
That's true. But they did, there's a lot of things on TV in London that are great. They got great reality television.
It is prime time, you're right.
Yeah, speaking about, okay, so we have another caller. He's going to be audio only. Yeah, somebody says the domain sucked. Let me tell you about the domain.
It wasn't yeah, go ahead.
It's hard to pronounce Fic. Go Fic.
You want to spell it F-I-C-K, right?
Yes, and it also sort of starts to compete with F-U-C-K, and your mind immediately goes there, but it is short. And Fic, it's kind of memorable. Go Fic. It's not, I give it like somewhere between a 7, what do you think, a 7.5, 8, Tyler, on my domain rules? Hard to spell, but short.
What did the FIC stand for?
Right, that's the question.
Feedback, ideas, and questions.
It wants to be FAQ, obviously.
Facts,
right?
yeah.
But you can't do that.
Right, because that's taken.
Right.
Go Fact. Go Fic. Feedback, information, questions. Yeah, they would need to put underneath the logo, feedback, information, questions. And they could put go, yeah.
That would help it a lot.
Help it a lot. You would start to get it. But see, the problem with the website design here is you have like a menu bar at the top, like what is it, the demo, us, widget and reports. Like widget and reports, that's for people who already have the product. And they're explaining for companies, organizations, users. They should save that for a secondary page. They should just put, for users, give feedback, click here. For companies, get feedback, click here. And there's a couple bullets.
This brings up a question because there's also Twitter feedback on this, and I'm wondering, when someone chooses a domain name, like in this case, fic.com.
Well, this is GoFic. They couldn't get Fic.
I'm sorry, you're right, GoFic, but it's the Fic part that I'm concerned with.
Right.
Do you respond mostly to the sound? Like, in other words, you would normally spell it in your head, F-I-C-K.
Yeah.
Or
it's one of my rules of domains. If you cannot spell it clearly, you got a problem.
Right.
And so, anytime you have to correct somebody's spelling on the phone. So if I did mobile phones for you, and I have to say it's mobile phones, but it's the number 4 and the letter U.
Yeah.
Now I've had to make 2 corrections to the domain.
Yeah.
Ideally, you don't want to make any corrections.
I think you're
But when
right.
you first heard of Yahoo, you might have to hear two O's at the end, or Google. Oh, it's Google. Okay, and so there's, do you have to correct the spelling, and how memorable is it? 1 hearing, 2 hearings. If you have mobile phones for you.net, there's like 3 mistakes there. It's a .net, it's a number 4, and it's a letter U. It might take me 10 times to remember that. Whereas, you hear this week in. Okay, it's this week in.
Right.
There's no spelling issue there. I mean, you might have to say to somebody, no dashes, no spaces, but you generally don't. Just type in this weekend. You're done.
It's a big question, especially
Yeah.
as people deal with these domains. Anyway.
You basically, I always look at domaining as if you cannot acquire a good domain, you're not worth investing in, not worth going to work for, not worth partnering in, because it's sort of like the first hard test of an entrepreneur. It's like finding, I don't know, some chef having a signature item on their menu, or it's just sort of the starting point. If you can't get that right. So
I always feel like a title in this town of Hollywood where we're doing this. I pitch a lot of reality programs, been involved in a lot of this stuff, and I always feel the title is very important.
If you don't get that right.
I've been involved with partners that go, hey, listen, if they don't like the title, they can change it. No. I want a good title, and so that at least if they want to change it, I know that
And you want to trademark it. I recently trademarked an idea for a show. This is Ask Mark. When I say the show, The Teenage Billionaire.
Oh, I love that. Love it.
It's a good show, right?
It's a great title, absolutely.
Or Teenage Billionaire. I have both, and I have the domains. I mean, can you imagine? You know what it is? This is my pitch. Tell me how I'm doing Hollywood style. It's Doogie Howser for the Facebook generation.
No, it's terrific. By the way, it writes itself.
It writes itself.
You get the title, the show writes itself. And that's what you want.
Exactly. But think about this. This kid becomes a billionaire at 16 because he built some service.
Yeah.
His company goes public, all this kind of stuff. But he's still in high school.
Right.
So he's in class and he's a billionaire and his teacher's not. And he...
Right, his teacher's kissing his butt.
Or he has to stay after school and he pays somebody to stay for him or something.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
or his parents tell him he has to go to his room, but in his room he leaves and then gets on his private jet.
Yeah, right.
Or he gets
he's got a helicopter pad and back.
You got it. You got it. He's got a driver. He's got all these great cars, but no driver's license.
What I would say to you is the question for that would be, how do you want him? Do you want him just to be rooting for him, or do you want him to be sort of
dark,
rooting
complex,
for him, but a little bit evil because he doesn't quite,
A little edge.
Yeah, okay.
I think a little like anybody who becomes a billionaire, like, hey, maybe having a hard time handling it at times. Maybe he's lonely. I think it's sort of the isolation, the loneliness of, because that's when you become a billionaire. I find they get a little reclusive and wacky. Let's do another call. Who do we have? Yeah, exactly. We call it a high-class problem. Next on the phone we have Jonathan. Jonathan, are you there?
Just John.
Just John. Okay, John.
Yep.
John, you're calling from the 415. Is that correct?
412, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. All right. So tell us, John, you have a question for us and perhaps even a little story?
No, I have a Shark Tank pitch.
Oh, is it Shark Tank time? Let's do a Shark Tank.
I need money. What I want, that's what I want. That's what I want. What I want. That's what I want.
It's pretty funny.
I love your stills there.
Yeah. Very professional. Headshots. We get those in the business. Okay, John, you're there. You have a call for us. You're from the 315 Pittsburgh. Or the 412. What's your question?
The pitch?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
The pitch.
Okay.
Shark Tank.
We're on
right.
Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have
You
a
know the
countdown
rules. You
or
have
just go?
60 seconds. Everybody in the chat room is going to rate the pitch on a scale of 1 to 10. Everybody's going to rate the idea on a scale of 1 to 10. Mark, I'm going to ask you to score as well. Tyler, you're going to score. I will give my score. I'll hear from these two gentlemen, and then we'll go to the chat room. In the chat room, you can just put P : the number / I : the number, or just number / number, because we'll know what you mean. Are you ready, John?
Got to take that as a no so far.
I think we lost John on the phone. Let's go back to Teenage Billionaire. So how do I get this program on the air?
Now, here's the deal. If it's a scripted show,
yes,
it's all about the showrunner. Okay.
All right.
It's not, by the way, that's not the case with some of the other things we discussed, like reality shows and that sort of thing. But with a scripted show, it's all about the showrunner.
So what is a showrunner? I've heard the term. I don't actually know what it is.
Okay. A showrunner is think of them as a head writer. Someone who will craft your notion into a television show and do it with the collaborative team that's necessary, or they'll do it on their own if that's all that's necessary.
And what do they do?
Like a Larry David would be like, wow, well, Larry David's your showrunner? I mean, he wouldn't even be a showrunner anymore. He's
he's in the stratosphere now.
But just to
he was Seinfeld's showrunner.
Yeah.
So he basically takes the ball and he runs with it. He gets everything done.
Exactly.
And they get a piece of the action?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, you want them to have a piece of the action.
Yes. So we're 50-50. What is it? You negotiate?
Yeah, I mean, you might be. I mean, depending on how powerful they are, if they can really kick the door and make the deal get done, it'd be like venture cap. I mean, listen, if Jason Calacanis can really make something happen, isn't he worth giving away? I'm going to tell you a quick story. My partner on a big reality show wanted to get into features, and he'd been sitting on this feature deal. And I'll tell you the story very quickly. I'll just keep this because everything here has to be, the pitch has to be quick, but quickly in 45 seconds or less. He's got a huge project, a literary project. He says, I want to remake it, okay? In fact, I'll tell you what it was. It was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
Okay? And at the time, he said, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I can't get it made, da-da-da. Now Michael Bay wants to make it with me, but he's screwing me on the deal. And I'm thinking, I said, what do you care? You've been trying to get this project made for 10 years.
Yeah, if you get 10%.
Let him screw you. I said, if I told you had to write a check to him for $10,000 to make it, wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't care. You give the showrunner whatever he wants. At some point, it might,
some level.
Bump.
All right.
There you go.
Here we go.
Now,
now we've got John. John, are you there?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go.
The average U.S. household spends $1,400 each year on consumer electronics. We all know more devices come out every day with varying compatibility and overlapping features. Jason, how do you find the best devices to fit your life without spending hours researching and get the most out of the devices you already own? DeviceKnit is like a cookbook for gadgets. It's a place for tech enthusiasts to share how they're using their devices together in unique ways. Build an inventory of the electronics you own, and DeviceKnit delivers suggestions, like how to use your iPad as a second monitor. If one of these recipes calls for something you don't already have, we show you where to buy it through our affiliates. We're different from other gadget sites like GDGT because our focus is on combinations of devices. Reviews and price comparison are often good for making a final decision, but not for seeing devices in action. We see a growing opportunity to help novices and the tech-savvy alike stay on top of the constantly changing technology landscape with DeviceKnit.
Excellent. Well done. You did it in 54 seconds. Your energy was good. You weren't going too fast. You weren't going too slow. Started with a great fact, $1,400. It's a very significant amount of money considering average household is probably $30,000 in the United States. You stated the problem. What gadget do I buy? What do I do with these gadgets once I have them? All these problems. How do I set the timer on the VHS? Classic problem. DeviceKnit, N-I-T, I'm guessing is the
K-N-I-T.
What is it?
K-N-I-T, like knit.
K-N-I-T. Okay, so you have a spelling sort of issue in the name, but I get it, like knitting. Not crazy about the name. You gave a great example, like how to use your iPad as a second monitor. That was just a perfect drop of an example, because you know it's a good example when somebody says, you can do that? Or they're like, I'm going to Google that later. Like, that's a good drop of an example. And a lot of times people do not give an example of their service succeeding, and that was a good example of service. Your differentiation from GDGT, which I'm on the board of and an investor in, as you probably know, I didn't fly with me that because you tell people how to use combinations of devices, you're different. Sounds exactly the same. But I'm on the board of that business and I invested in it for a reason. I love it. So I think the idea is actually a 10 because it's such a, if this was movies and it was like owning DVDs, I would not say it's a 10 because average household might spend $100 on movies. There's not enough money there to make it into a big business. Your pitch, I would say 8, 8.5, idea 10. The problem is the business already exists, and so you got a problem. Tyler, you want to give your scores?
I like the pitch on a technical basis for all the reasons you mentioned. He baited you with a question. Yeah, he kept his tone good. He used good examples.
He used my name in it.
Yeah, well, he threw you a question in it,
Yeah.
which engages your brain to keep you from
Yeah.
falling asleep. He started with a fact, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, fact makes sure
Just
take it.
buy the book. Awesome.
Yeah, maybe a
Awesome
9.
pitch, yeah.
What do you
Wow, wow.
Yeah, I'd give it a 9.
give? Yeah, I mean it's pretty tight. And the idea?
Idea, it depends on
If GDG doesn't exist,
if GT doesn't exist. I like the idea, but using the example of a recipe book, was it, or a cookbook?
Yeah, that was not good.
Yeah, and then you're using knitting and cooking with gadgets
it's not exactly the aesthetic.
right that audience appeals to necessarily. I like where your head's at though, like bring an organic sort of feel to gadgetry and how to
Yeah.
use them.
I kind of like the idea he has of helping people learn and discover. I almost think maybe just as an editorial product, just what to do with this now, like a whatnow.com. Like, I've got this thing, what now? What do I do next? What next? You know? There's something there, so I kind of like that a lot. Mark, what did you think?
I really am tripped up on the name,
Yeah.
DeviceNet. I really am, because even when he said it several times, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I guess it's device knit, like NIT. Does that mean it's kind of nitty to do?
Yeah.
I said I don't
Like
know what
nitpicky.
I kind of got
Like a
off
nit in
on
poker.
that a
Yeah.
little bit. So
It's distracting.
with all respect, I just felt maybe you could work with like Device Pro. I'm thinking Device Props. I'm thinking something
better.
else.
Yeah.
The iPad example was great. The iPad example
Yeah.
really gave me sort of crystallized it.
Yeah.
You guys are in a much better position to judge the idea itself, whether or not it's actually effective.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously GDGT is what
Yeah.
it's in the same space.
It's the exact same idea. in my
So
mind.
I don't-
It's 90% overlap.
I don't know, but maybe
yeah.
you can do it as well.
So on a pitch, 1 to 10?
I'll give it an 8.
Okay. And the idea? Hard to judge?
Don't know. I'll say 7.5 question mark.
All right, guys in the chat room. Oh, you know what? I let the chat room traffic go by. Hold on a second. I got to pull it up here. Everybody in the chat room, give me your scores one more time if you would, since I don't have it here. Oh, here we go. Okay. Scrolling backwards, I see an 8. I see a 7.7. I see an 8.58, 6.7, 8.8, 10.8. Some people complaining about the name. I see 8.8. Scrolling back up a little more. 10.8, 8.8. So people like it. 7.7, 9.8, 7.7. You got 1.56/6.5, 1.66. So I would say it's largely people like the idea a lot. People like the pitch a lot. So the two things we've learned, John: great pitch, existing idea. Might be time to differentiate a little bit more. Any feedback?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's
Any rebuttal?
really helpful. Well, I mean, we're trying to actually differentiate by, getting similar, the overlapping parts of sites like GDGT from other places. For example, we're just finishing up integration with a site called Product Wiki that's been around since 2005. And through their API, we're able to access photos and descriptions and pros and cons for many devices. So we don't have to populate all that information ourselves or get it as user-generated content. We can focus on helping people see how they can use different devices together. And we're actually getting a lot of organic traffic from that. For example, people searching for, how do I control my garage door from my iPhone? And so, things like that, people end up finding the devices that they didn't know existed when they have a problem like that. So that's something that we see as our big differentiator.
Hey, what are you doing on February 23rd and 24th?
I'll be at the launch conference.
You will.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
I don't have tickets yet, though.
Oh, okay. Well, I have something even better for you and your partner. I saw there's two dorky-looking guys on this website here. Is that you?
I'm on the right, yeah.
You're a dork on the right?
Yeah.
Who's the one on the left?
That's Justin. He's actually involved with a different startup. He was working with us for a while, a different startup in Pittsburgh. We were a part of the Alpha Lab program, and he's actually pursuing a company that is in the application process for that right now.
Well, you know what, John? You're not only coming to the event. You're going to bring somebody with you, one of your staff members, one of your team members, or a friend. And I'm going to give you a tabletop there, and you're going to take your laptop out, and for 2 days you're going to meet and mingle with all of the folks at the event, and maybe you raise a little capital. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Thank you very much,
You are going to be an
Jason.
exhibitor. Okay, that costs
That's great.
$1,500, and
Wow.
that's for free for you for being a loyal soldier in the Jason Nation.
Wow, thank you so much. I've been watching since episode 1 of Twist, and episode 5 is how I found out about this Alpha Lab incubator in Pittsburgh with an Ask Jason caller. So I thank you a lot for making this show.
You know, the show is a collaborative effort, and it's mostly me, but it is a collaborative effort. I'm joking. It's a collaborative effort, and I learn as much as you do, if not more. And it's the reason I keep doing the show. You know, every show, it's just incredible education. I mean, actually, Mark was my friend.
I know nothing.
I mean, you're not in the industry, and you listen to every show.
Great ride.
I
learned more, really. And for me, of course, I'm really starting as a sort of tabula rasa with nothing at all. But
yeah.
You know.
All right, so make sure you email me, Jason at Mahalo, and I'll put you in touch with my partner, Crute, and he will get you set up. Let's go to another, good talking to you. Let's do another Ask Jason. I don't think we need to run the promo again.
I like the stills, though. Oh, we
don't have to run that. We don't have to run the package.
Just run the stills from now on and not the
exactly. Okay, here we go. We have another caller on the line. Jonathan, are you there?
Hello?
Hey, Jonathan, are you there?
Hey, Jason.
Yes.
It's Jonathan, Turbo 140. Good to talk to you guys again.
Good to talk to you. Turbo 140, I remember you guys were at Open Angel Forum in Los Angeles, #2.
Yeah.
Right.
If I remember correctly, I don't know if that was March or April.
Had the little robot logo.
Yeah, it was an interesting idea. So, Jonathan, you have a question for us and a story. Let's hear it.
I do. So, kind of where we are now is we've been cranking away, and we're gearing up to peel off the beta tag and launch version 1.0. A lot of new features, new look, but also a new name. And it's kind of an extension of your last newsletter where you talked about what makes a good name. And my question for you is, what advice would you have for communicating a new name to existing users, as well as using it to, get it out there in the world, new users, press, those other considerations?
The press is not going to cover just the renaming of a company. What they would cover is the renaming and the pivoting of the company. If you're changing something substantial about the business model, if there's a substantial business pivot there. And the way you could sell that story is by saying, here's the mistakes we made, and here's what we learned and why we're pivoting. That's the interesting thing for them. So you basically let yourself look stupid. You say, hey, here's all the mistakes I had, and I'm working this from Mahalo 4.0 launch. I'm going to basically write a little editorial myself and say, hey, here's the things we did at Mahalo that didn't work. But here's the things we learned along the way, and here's the things that are working incredible, making millions of dollars and getting tens of millions of users. And we're officially pivoting, blah 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 blah. And I'm sort of going through the same process myself. So is the service itself changing?
I think it's more evolving than changing.
Okay.
And so I think it's just really narrowing down our niche and our focus.
Mm-hmm.
But
and the idea was.
I can spin it the way
it's a cool idea.
Yeah, I mean the idea is very simple. You need somebody to, move some furniture in your house. You post the gig and say, like this is usually me. My wife starts saying, hey, can we move, these couches around? These couches.
And you go right to the site and post it.
Well, she knows better than to ask me to do this on like one day off a week. But yeah,
this is a good idea though that way, isn't it?
Yeah, because there are people who need money right now. It's sort of like an instant version of Craigslist, right? Is that how you would for gigs, right?
More transparency, more trust, more real.
Right, but that same area where you need something done, it's like a posting. But how is it evolving differently? You said it's evolving.
So I think as far as the way people interact with the site, and so it's really more. I think the idea is staying the same, but the way people communicate, the features, and the navigation throughout the site is what's changing.
Mm. Okay, so a redesign, kind of hard to sell. You may want to come up with some fact that you learned or some interesting pivot point. You may have to go into the labs and kind of figure that out, maybe even massage and manufacture a little bit. Maybe there's some story, somebody tried to use the service and it didn't work and we learned this and that's what the design is based on. Or maybe if you have some killer designer doing the work, you can ride there. Like I had Jonathan Hicks do the logo for Mahalo originally. That actually got us a little industry press that he did the logo because he had done the Firefox and the other Mozilla logos. So, if you can afford the scratch and you can get somebody to make a $2,000 logo, you could actually ride their brand a little bit.
Or you could have a contest as to redesign of the logo, and you could maybe try to get some heat on it that way.
It's been done a million times, though, is the one problem.
But what about, do you think it's important to communicate a new name to our existing users?
Yeah, what you can do is you can, on a technical basis, you can redirect, 403 redirect, whatever it's called, where you get all the SEO, still redirects. And what I would do is I would just put for like, I don't know, a month, I would have a little pop-up that comes up that just says, or a roadblock that says, Turbo 140 is now, get a job, or get a gig. And Get a Gig, that's a pretty good name. Get a Gig.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah, Get a Gig. So Get a Gig. Somebody's going to go buy that right now for $500.
Post a gig.
The race is on.
Yeah, well, post a gig, find a gig, get a gig, Gigster, Gigalator,
Post a gig if you use it. I do want a piece.
Gig.is, Gig.co.
Let me run the name that we're leaning towards by
Okay,
you.
right here.
Workables.
Workables. It's got a ring. Workables, like Lunchables, Workables. It's okay. It's better than Turbo 140 because Turbo 140 sounds like a Twitter tool. So
Yeah,
you're
wanna
getting
get-
closer to work. I would say it's probably, it evokes Lunchables. But Workables, like that's workable? Is that what sort of you're saying? Like, hey, that's workable?
Yeah, we kind of want to keep the same funness to it, but get it more towards the work and.
And
we thought-
workable without the S is not available, right?
That one were discussions, but I don't even like that one as much as Workables.
I kind of like workable actually better. Like that's workable. Yeah, we can make that work. We can make that work. Yeah. So anyway, workables. It's not bad actually. I think it's one of those things where if you build a great service, it's a fine name, but it may not be the name that brings people to the service, kind of a thing. Like,
Okay.
like it's one of those names that it could grow on people. And sure, now it's Craigslist. Okay, sure. But Craigslist itself doesn't evoke anything. Yours actually evokes a little bit, which is good because it's got work and it's got able in it. So it's actually kind of growing on me even in this minute. So I think it could work.
I'll take.
Yeah, it's definitely better than Turbo 140. And so, and that's I'll be honest with you. Maybe your Open Angel. I don't know how did Open Angel Forum go for you? Did you get interest? Did you do a lot of follow-ups? How did it go?
I got interest and I've maintained a couple of relationships. I think the trick was when I presented. I think we were about 8 days into having a full beta product.
Yeah.
So we were so early going. People kind of wanted to see how we continue to evolve.
Yeah.
With the service, getting users, and so now we're kind of getting that point where we're going to begin to monetize the service. And so I think with a new name and some of these features as we once we launch that in January that we're targeting for, it's going to really, I think, put us in a better position to get to that point where we raise capital.
Awesome.
That's a really good point he's bringing up, which is the timing of things where you either want to
sell the promise or the performance.
Right.
We always talk about that. And now it's interesting because remember 3 years ago we were selling promise. You and I were on the road selling the promise of things. Charlie got to come to a lot of meetings with me. And now, maybe in 2011 we'll go on the road again. We don't have to, but we could. And we'll be selling performance.
Too. Yeah.
Like, look, here's the performance. You get a little promise. Hey, here's some other things we're going to do. But it's like, hey, look at the look.
Right.
We made it happen in 40 months. We're the 160th largest site. Yeah.
That is your big thing on this show. You talk about it all the time. The way you pitch your
very important.
Yeah. Performance is But if you don't have performance yet because you're a newcomer,
right.
all you can sell is promise. But that's okay if you sell it the right way.
So then you have to know what you're selling because if you're selling performance, you're going to need to have a lot of numbers. You have a graphs. You're going to have a lot of detail. You're going to get into the nitty gritty. You got to be able to get in there. But if you're selling promise, you should just avoid it at all costs. You should not be doing any projections. You should be not talking about numbers. You should be saying, hey, listen, this is why the product's better qualitatively. Look, we have a better domain name. We have better design. We have this feature. Promise, promise, promise. And then we'll see what happens. And we need you on our team as an investor because you're going to help us learn how to take this promise and make it into a performing company. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, and where are you going to be February 23rd and 24th?
I'm going to be at the launch conference. You've already kindly offered me a ticket.
Awesome.
So I appreciate that.
All right. Well done. I will see you there.
Awesome.
Okay. Let's do the news. All right, and hey, before we get into the news, I've got news for you. .co is the domain name you need. Create your own opportunity. Over 600,000 .co domains have been registered. .co, I've been talking about it, and we have domain name discussions all the time. If there's only 600,000 of those taken, and there's hundreds of millions of the .coms taken, guess what? Finding a good domain name, a lot easier on the .co domain. It's going to do just as good in SEO in our experience. And I.co will be the next single-letter domain name available, joining O.co, which Overstock bought, and T.co, which Twitter bought, and X.co, which GoDaddy bought. Go make your dreams come true. Go create your own opportunity, and thank them. Just thank them. Just say @.co, which is DOTCO. I think that's their Twitter handle. Just thank them for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups. We've all gotten tremendous value out of this experience, doing 99 shows together, and even some insights thrown in here and again from Tyler. And we couldn't do it. We just couldn't do it without .co. They've been a great sponsor, and I own at least 24 .co's already, and you'll be seeing some of those in products shortly. Mark, tell us, what's in the news?
Well, there's a lot of talk, and this is a big, big story, and it's kind of a big picture story, but you're just the guys to answer this. Is there a silicon bubble that's reinflating? And it was in the New York Times, so mainstream media's picked it up, and it's all over the web. And here it is in essence, everyone. The enthusiasm for social networking, mobile apps, and has venture capitalists just frothing at the mouth. They're clamoring to give money to young companies. Again, this is the way it's being characterized here. The exuberance has given rise to an elite club of startups, all younger than 7 years, all worth billions of dollars. And there are investments in Twitter's and Twitter-like social networking sites that are running up values very, very quickly. So Google willing to pay $6 billion for Groupon. We'll get to that story in a second because that deal looks like it's not going to happen. But in any case, that also has to do with valuations that are rising so quickly that all of a sudden the deal doesn't look good anymore.
Right.
So less than a decade after the dot-com bust taught Wall Street and Silicon Valley investors that what goes up does not keep going up forever, a growing number of entrepreneurs and a few venture capitalists are beginning to wonder if investments in tech startups are headed toward another big bust. I swear when I saw this, I read it, I thought, I want to call Jason and ask him about this. And here I am able to ask him about this.
Big difference between the last bubble and this bubble. In the last bubble, there was a lot of promise. People correctly saw the internet was going to change the world. However, the performance, the actual revenue, was not there. It was only until people like Google that we actually saw really significant, tens of billions of dollars being made. Before that, it was a lot of talk about making money, and it was some good user bases. But a lot of things have changed in 10 years. Number one, advertisers are now embracing the internet in a major way. They're not afraid to spend. They're spending like crazy. You have consumers more than willing to buy stuff online. There's a big question in the early days of the internet, would people shop online? Would they put their credit card on the internet? That's been answered. Broadband and globalization. More than half the traffic to most websites in the United States comes from outside the United States. Most of Google's revenue comes from outside the United States. Globalization, which was something that was talked about in the 80s and the early 90s, 20 years ago, is actually now happening on the internet every day and for every man. And so the difference between these companies, Zynga and Groupon, have billions of dollars in revenue. Twitter, maybe not so much. They haven't been spending as much time on making money, but I'm guessing they have 50 to 200 million in revenue without even trying. And this is really the first year they're trying in earnest. Facebook, $2 billion in revenue, and a very large number of users. They're very much under monetizing. So these companies actually have the goods to back it up. It's not a bubble with those specific companies. Now there is a bubble in the early stage in angel deals. It's ballooned to valuations. People starting their companies are getting $3, $4, $5, $6 million valuations for a company that's just starting. And it used to be just a year ago, 1, 2, and 3. So that is a balloon in the angel investing.
But that's what they're talking about, the angel investing.
Right. And then there's a balloon in the first round. There was a first round of GroupMe that was $35 million for a company that was under a year old. So you're getting these. It's more like a bubble bath or something like that. It was a lot of things.
Mini bubbles.
Mini bubbles, and it's not like one of these huge bubbles where the emperor has no clothes, like in the last time, and you have companies with 2,000 employees who don't have enough revenue to sustain them, and they're running out of venture capital, and they've run out of the public funds, and there's no hope of them ever surviving, like Razorfish or whatever. They just had overexpanded too much. Cosmo overexpanded too much. Webdan overexpanded too much. This is actually the real deal. People have grown their companies in a responsible manner. Even if the bubble were to burst, if there, God forbid, was a terrorist attack or another financial crisis, these companies would not die. And what happened during the financial crisis just, 24 months ago? Wow, it's 2 years since the financial crisis. But during that financial crisis, it looked pretty bleak. It looked like all these companies were out of business. And I wrote, I think half of all startups are going to go out of business. And they didn't. A lot of them went on to life support, but they had enough revenue to survive. So there's something different about this era, and it's money is being made.
So the mini bubbles, am I to take from this that the mini bubbles exist as little run-ups,
yeah,
but perhaps in a sense justified by what is now in the general pipeline of consumer use and of web use and,
yeah, I think
the monetization of the web?
Yes. People believe that these small companies are starting, you know, the small companies are getting like an extra couple of $1 million because the web overall is doing so well. Revenue is so good, usage is so good, advertising exists. They're giving everybody, it's like everybody's starting on the, you know, whatever, a 40-yard line or something. Everybody just got an extra 20 yards. And they shouldn't. And what will happen is those investors who maybe aren't as sophisticated, they'll have investments that go sideways or go down or only go up a little bit. Their wins won't be as big, and they'll have just as many losses. And so the delta will be like, oh my God, angel investing is like investing in bonds, except scarier, you know. Like, and maybe they'll be like, hey, you know what? If I didn't lose money and I made enough money compared to bonds, maybe it's more exciting and I got a bigger thrill out of it. Tyler, your thoughts?
You're right, though, that the initial bubble was the excitement about the internet to come.
Yeah.
The promise couldn't arrive fast enough, so, you know, the advertising money didn't come into, you know, that took 10 years.
Users didn't take their credit cards, yeah.
Right. So now that the money's showing up in the form of Groupon and Zynga and all these other things, there's a whole kind of new excitement that's going along with this one that is based in a sort of reality this time.
Yeah.
Like, Zynga is making that money, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the money is in their bank account, so.
Yeah.
Next story.
Yep. Here's a great one for you. At the end of Q3, how did the following areas of investment fare? We'll start with internet. Just up or down. Was there an increase in monies raised, or was there a decrease?
In the third quarter.
In the third quarter.
Versus a year ago or the previous quarter?
Versus a year prior.
It's got to be up. It's got to be up. No.
Internet sector company fundings reversed their previous quarterly increase. Actually, they're just comparing it to the previous quarter, though.
Oh, previous quarter.
So I'm sorry.
The summer is usually a little slower.
Okay.
So that makes sense.
But that, I see. Okay, very good then.
Quarter over quarter.
18%, a decrease of 18% in internet investment. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. It can fluctuate. Sometimes you have very big deals that occur, and you could have a deal like $100 million being put into it. So if there's only $5 billion invested overall in the quarter or something like that, the numbers aren't so staggering in venture capital. I don't know what the total amount invested, maybe 20 billion or 30 billion. What was it for the quarter?
It was 1.8 billion for the quarter.
Oh wow! So it's not for just the internet.
Yeah. So no. That's for the. I'm sorry. I'm going to get to the big denouement, the big finish.
Yeah.
There's one sector that's up.
One
sector
sector's
really
up.
Getting to.
Yeah.
Three are down. You've got internet, digital media, e-commerce, and software. Internet, digital media, e-commerce, and software. One of those is up. Everybody else is down.
I'm going to guess e-commerce is up because of Groupon and Guild Group and those sales.
Do you agree? It's software.
Interesting.
And that is the number, 1.8 billion on software.
Wow.
Yeah, it's odd. But now you've actually put it in a context, though.
Yeah.
Those are cloud.
I'm sure it's cloud computing. The movement, Salesforce and other things, moving to the cloud, Gmail, all those things.
Yeah.
Microsoft moves their products to the clouds. You'd have billions of dollars moving over. So it's cloud computing is the driving force there.
E-commerce actually, and again, though, you've put it in context by talking about the fact that it's a slow summer or whatever.
Summer can be a little slow.
I'm kind of rethinking it even, but investments in the e-commerce sector decreased by 50%.
Yeah.
So
those numbers can swing wildly based upon, a collection of companies. Because I don't want to say that investors are lemmings, but they are herd animals, and correctly so. If the herd is going in a certain direction because it's safer or faster or there's water in that direction, that's the smart thing for the herd to do. Right. So when the herd sees e-commerce booming a year ago and they see Groupon growing and Living Social, every one of them makes a bet there. When they see Mahalo or other Q&A and knowledge engines, Quora, Vark, Cha-Cha, boom, they all pump money in there. And then it stops. And those companies get a chance to grow for 3-4 years. And it may not come back for that amount of time, or it may not come back ever if that sector turns out to be a bust.
But that does influence the number if you compare quarter to
Yeah,
quarter. So
it's
in
hard.
a way, it's a false stat in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, it should have. It's like taking a basketball player and just counting them on the preseason,
Right.
or just on 5 games, the first 5 games of the season. You're going to need to have 20 games to. So if you blended it over a couple of quarters, you might see it, be less staggering in one direction or the other.
Yeah, interesting. All right.
Story.
So, what about this AOL Yahoo rumor of a merger? Does it? I have 2 questions. One is, do you think it'll happen? But the other is, does it make sense?
It doesn't make any sense. I'll tell you why. You have 2 businesses that are extremely challenged. They're trying to figure out who they are. AOL has decided they're a content business. That's great that they've made that decision. And they're on the way to doing that, in part by buying Weblogs Inc. from me in 2005. And so it's been a 4 or 5 year story of them saying, we're not an access business anymore, we're a content company.
But if I can just interject, let's face it, their big source of revenue is still the access.
Right. And so what they're trying to do is build that content business up, and they're going to sell that access business to Earthlink or somebody else who can monetize it. But all their traffic comes through the front door, so they're trying to build up their direct traffic to sites like Engadget, or they bought TechCrunch or other things, to try to get more direct traffic and more advertising dollars that are not driven by the access subscribers. And they're doing, I would say, a good job. Like I would give them an okay to good job, like B. They're maybe a B-. They haven't built anything in-house that's good. That's the problem. They have to buy everything. Until they have the ability to prove that they can actually build high-quality content brands themselves, not have to buy everyone, I think they're going to have a little bit of a rough run of it, but they could learn how to do that. So maybe I give them a C+. Then on the Yahoo side, they don't know what they are. And they
still want to be the portal business, right?
Yeah, the portal business doesn't really mean anything anymore. So they gave away the search business to Microsoft. So now, what's their big business? Is it email? Email is like one of their largest categories, and the news, because they dump people from email to the news, and Instant Messenger has a couple of million people on it, and they have a display ad business. So it's a little bit of a mess, Yahoo, and Yahoo hasn't proven that they can build great product. And so you have these 2 businesses, and now Yahoo's saying maybe we are a content company.
Well, that's what they always wanted to be, a content company.
Maybe. They hired Terry Semel, and they were going to try to do it.
During the Semel days, they really wanted to.
And they didn't do anything.
Right, exactly.
And Lloyd Braun, and they never actually got any content that you can remember out. There was supposed to be a news show with puppets. They never actually released it. So Yahoo is a bunch of engineers who thought they were a content company during the Lloyd Braun years and the Terry Semel years. And now Jerry Yang ran it for a little bit, and now Carol Bartz is running it, and they still don't know if they're a content company or a software company. They should really be trying to compete in the software business and be doing things like email and better email and social networking. They just don't seem to be able to build great product there anymore.
It just astounds me, though, that that's the case. I mean, these are huge companies with AOL.
If you look at the leaders of the 2 companies, one is a professional manager in Carol Bartz, and she's done a miraculous job in cleaning the place up, cutting expenses, increasing earnings, and getting the Microsoft deal done. She's not a product visionary. She would never say she is. And so they have, and who's the product visionary at Yahoo? There isn't one. Then you go over to AOL. And AOL is a sales-driven business. They hired a sales-driven guy, Tim Armstrong, who I know. He's a great sales guy. I don't know if he's a good manager or not. Let's assume they're both. He's not known as a professional manager like Carol Bartz, manager of business with 20 years, 30 years doing that. He's a 40-year-old guy like I am, and he just happens to be a great sales guy, and he's tall with great hair. But it takes more than that to actually create a great product. I don't think he would ever say, "I'm a product visionary." What product has Tim Armstrong made? Tim Armstrong's never made a product. He's managed large ad sales groups like Google's. So he's the right guy to have if you have a product visionary alongside him. She could be the right person to have if there's a product visionary alongside of them. They don't have one.
Exactly, though. I can't understand why they can't. I mean, they got to get a Robin to their Batman.
Yeah, or the better move is to put Batman in charge and get a Robin.
Okay.
And so I sort of think that's the problem. If you put somebody in charge of the business who's an amazing salesperson or amazing manager of businesses, and they go up against Steve Jobs, who's the most brilliant product developer ever in technology, or Bill Gates, who would be second, or Facebook, who would be in the top 5, or Larry Ellison. I mean, these guys actually know their product, and they built their products. Maybe not Larry Ellison to a lesser degree, but they're going up against product-driven companies with brilliant product heads. The future of the technology industry is putting a brilliant product person who has enough business acumen to surround themselves with the right people. That's not the strategy these two companies
So is it
take.
going to happen or not, do you think? Two troubled
I don't
companies,
think so.
you say no.
No.
You say no as well?
I think AOL, Time Warner, has given people enough warning of what happens when you put two struggling businesses together.
Yeah.
Like if one person is drowning, and then you throw somebody in who can't swim to save them, now you've got two people drowning. It doesn't help. You know, if you sent Steve Jobs into either of these businesses, if Steve Jobs bought either of these two businesses, or Facebook were able to buy either of these two businesses, those two businesses would get cleaned up. It would take 2 or 3 years to clean them up. But you don't have a product visionary running the show at those and making the final decision. It's not going to happen. Tyler, you have thoughts?
Will they out and out die? I mean, what was the last something the size of a Yahoo that just out and out Deadpooled?
Wow, that's a good question. The largest, well, you had, all the software companies did die when Office beat them. WordPerfect, I mean,
Sure.
those kind of things. I think WordPerfect still exists, actually, but yeah, shadow of their former self. The search engines. InfoSeek got beat by Google.
Yeah.
Magellan, Lycos. There were tons of search engines that are now gone. They're just gone. Nobody uses them. Remember Lycos? Remember Excite?
Yeah.
So the portals are all gone.
I just think
Google trounced them.
Can Yahoo
Friendster,
Yeah.
Rise, and MySpace, not exactly gone, but certainly forgotten in most cases. So yes.
But they weren't public though, were they? Did Lycos go public?
Oh, Lycos and Excite were public, sure.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, big time.
Will Yahoo potentially just kind of ride out into the, what happens if they don't?
They do nothing?
If they do, yeah.
Well, I can tell you, AOL was a $40 billion company.
Right.
And it's now a $2 billion company. Yahoo is a $20 billion company, I think now, $25 billion. It's quite possible it could become a $2 billion company, with the exception that half their value is their Alibaba shares or more. So they own shares in Alibaba, and they need to sell those, and then the company would come down immediately to a $15 million company. If they sold the Japan shares, you know, you'd be down around 10, 12. So Yahoo's business actually were 10, 12 if they were to sell those other assets.
Or maybe
and AOL's business would get cut in half, maybe, if they sold the access business. So those businesses could combined be worth like 10 or 11. You put them together, I don't think it's going to get any amount of scale. Or it's not like, can you imagine taking the Yahoo Mail product, which is, and the AOL Mail product? Both of those products are not best of breed. They both have tens of millions of users, and then you put them together. So you have two product teams that can't keep up with Google or Facebook, and you put the two product teams together. Now they've got to discuss what they're going to do, and all that politics, and who's going to get fired, and who's going to make the designs, and who's going to make the final decision on this font style, while Zuckerberg and the Google teams are just adding features, adding features, adding features. Just the fact that they have to go to meetings and talk about integration kills it. It is quite possible that AOL and Yahoo could go away. Yeah, of course.
But it wouldn't be in Yahoo's
unlikely
best interest, right, to buy something like a Living Social, and
or build it, and they tried. They tried to buy Groupon for $2 billion.
Right. Kudos, for that. But why not buy things that they could leverage their own traffic against?
Because the owners of those companies, the answer is they tried. And Andy Siegel, who was the guy who we know, who was at Yahoo, bought Associated Content, was trying to buy those things. Those companies wouldn't sell to Yahoo because they said Yahoo is such a mess. The founders of Foursquare would not sell because they did not want their product destroyed by Yahoo.
It's not about the money.
Groupon, yeah, because they don't need to, because you get the Russian investors DST willing to put in $100 million. You got Inside Venture Partners in New York, Devin Perek, willing to make a $100 million check. They don't need to sell. And when those guys write those $100 million, $200 million checks, they go, oh yeah, you're the founder? Here's $10 million, go buy an apartment, out of the $100 million, it's fine. We want you to go long. And so the person's like, oh, well, I have enough money and I want to work, and I sent Andrew Mason a little note, an email saying you did the right thing, not selling. I mean, I probably would have sold Groupon, but,
I heard why he didn't sell.
Because they wanted $2.5 million worth of Groupon for $5 billion?
Sean Parker came in and said, you know what's cool? $1 trillion.
Insight from Tyler. Insight from Tyler. I thought my joke had if I could tell my joke.
The Groupon-ish kind of feel.
If I had it, yeah.
You didn't quite have it loaded.
I didn't have it loaded, but let me try one more time. Well, because they offered them $2.5 billion for $5 billion worth of company. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good. Yeah. No, that somebody tweeted that out as.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, they don't have to sell it. I just don't understand why it's not. It's so clear that product-driven companies do better, and now money is everywhere, so you don't need to sell these folks. And even Google, which would be a great place to sell your company to, and who probably wouldn't screw it up, they've got a good track record, couldn't buy Groupon and couldn't buy Yelp. And Yelp, Yahoo was trying to buy Yelp. Trust me, Yelp was like, you know, like, and then Elevation Partners, U2, Bono, and is a partner over there, and those Elevation guys were like, yeah, here's a $50 million check, go, boom, keep growing, build one of the top 20 sites on the internet instead of the number 50 site or whatever it is. So it's tough times. They can't buy their way out of the problem, and they can't build their way out of the problem. So all they can do is operate their way out of the problem, and maybe she's trying to operate her way out of the problem, and Tim Armstrong is trying to deal himself out of the problem. So he's doing like sort of the Barry Diller approach, which is I'm going to figure out a deal. These bankers are going to get a deal together, and I'm going to solve my problems by doing a deal. If you're trying to solve your problems by doing a deal, that's not a good way to solve the problem. The best way to solve the problem is to focus on the product. I mean, there are transformative deals, but you got to create your way out of it. You got to build a culture of products.
I mean, it doesn't sound like their history would suggest that they're going to be able to do that. Either one of them.
Let's do a last story. Do you have a last one?
Yeah, I do. Of course I have. I don't think the Groupon Google deal is off. We kind of covered that.
Yeah, we covered that a bunch.
So let's, how about the Google launching the ebook store? Okay, this is the world's largest library of titles. It's really cuts into Amazon and to Barnes and Noble and Apple.
Yeah.
Their ebook venture is going to be open a little more open than the competitors. Okay, so consumers are going to be able to browse and search Google's book library. They'll be able to read ebooks on any web-enabled device. Their ebook library is going to be tied to Google accounts. It'll be accessible through any web browser. You'll be able to buy ebooks directly from Google or from independent booksellers like Powell's and participating members of the American Booksellers Association. So it's going to be
inclusive,
a little more inclusive. So that's a quick snapshot of it. What is your take, is my question, on this new venture?
Well, they certainly have the biggest archive of all those books that they indexed. And so when most people are looking for a book, they're going to do a Google search. And so now the big loser in this is Amazon, obviously, because this is for the web. And I think people are going to maybe buy books from here. It would be smart for Amazon to do a partnership with them. But what it does show is Amazon's getting really conflicted here because Google's getting very conflicted because now they're competing with Amazon. Amazon is one of the people who buys a lot of clicks from Google. So you have Google making money on the search side of their business, people buying clicks from them. And now those people who bought that traffic to sell books is now going to go, wait a second, you're selling books. Why should I buy traffic from you? And so this is Google's problem. They want to keep growing. Everybody who owns the stock wants to see it keep growing. In order to grow, they have to compete with their existing customer base.
That's a great point.
And it starts to become a channel conflict. Like, what if Simon & Schuster or Barnes & Noble or Amazon or Borders are buying the ads for the book, and then the first organic result is the ebook from Google. The ebook from Google. So Google gets to sell it for free, and they've got 70% market share and more in some markets. This is where antitrust stuff could come in. Where does Google rank their books compared to Amazon? Well, Amazon's been around longer, and it's got more reviews on the page, so it should do better. But, anytime an Amazon book gets outranked by a Google, there's going to be this insinuation that, Google is favoring themselves. And they control the search engine. The same exact thing is happening with Yelp right now. Yelp wouldn't sell to Google. Google offered them a lot of money, $600 million reportedly. What does Google do? They create their own product. We're going to hear about it on Friday, Hot Pot. And it's a really well-constructed product. And all of a sudden, I hear people saying, hey, Yelp doesn't rank as high as Google Local does. Well, Google has the right to construct their product any way they want, but maybe Google's going to start becoming not a walled garden, but a hedged garden. You can get in, but, it's not as easy to get in those search rankings. And it is creating, and I'll tell you what it is creating. There's an undercurrent of animosity and trust that I think Google is starting to feel a little shaking from. And so they're going to have to be very careful with this. And that's why they're being inclusive. I wouldn't be surprised if on every time they offer theirs, they offer the Amazon version and the iPad version.
It's very funny you should say that, because the one thing that they have issued no official word on yet is Kindle compatibility. And of course, that's an Amazon platform.
Yeah.
So.
And Amazon doesn't let theirs be compatible with anybody. So if Google says, hey, we'll be compatible with yours, if we're compatible with ours, that's a pretty good deal for them to fight off Apple.
At least you could rent. Yeah.
Keep Apple at bay. Mark Thompson, thank you for doing
Bruce,
this.
what a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Really appreciate you sitting in. Also, great job on the Shark Tank and the Ask Jason. Tyler, another great job. People want to know in the chat room, are you going to announce your startup next week?
I'll announce a startup next week.
Are you going to do it in a Shark Tank format? Tyler on the Shark Tank.
I'll do Shark Tank, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you to .co. Go buy yourself a .co. Create your own opportunity. .co. What do you know? I love .co. SendGrid. If you're sending things like account registration and password reset notifications and purchase receipts and shipping notifications, people need those. Friend follower requests. Those are the lifeblood. And if any social service, do what Foursquare did. Do what Formspring did. Do what Hootsuite did.
Don't even try and do that yourself.
No, that's just like there's a lot of things entrepreneurs should not be doing, and creating their own grid to send email is not one of them. Outsource it. It's going to cost not that much, and use the code iWatchTwist to get 3 months for free. Thank you to those two guys. Thank you to the crew. Another flawless episode. And the closing question of the week, producer Rob's trying to add a little value. I've been riding him pretty hard. And he said, hey, maybe we should have a question at the end of the show. People can participate, make it interactive. I said, that's a good idea, Rob. And so Rob said he wants all of you, and I would like you to do this as well, to answer our question of the week, which is Silicon Valley in a bubble? And if so, when is it going to pop? Go right to the This Week in Startups website, which is thisweekin.com/startups, and post that in the comments. So that would be right down here if you're reading. It's right down here. Post it not on my lap, just a little bit further down there.
Stop here.
Stop right here, right about here on my belly. Write your answer there. And hey, follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/TWI Startups. TWI Startups. And Mark, I follow you. You're Mark Thompson TV.
At Mark Thompson TV, please.
Mark
All
Thompson
followers
TV.
welcome.
And if you're in Los Angeles, tune in 5 nights a week on
Fox 11 and Channel 13 as well.
And if you have a cable network, you can tune into the
all
True.
over Jesse Ventura Conspiracy Theory. I'm the terribly conspiratorial.
Oh yeah, you're the voice of
that.
Jesse.
Yeah.
I saw his episode.
It's really arch, really nasty. The government is out to get you,
really?
To lock up your family.
Because he did something
to
on
poison
Area
your water.
51.
Yes, of course.
Or 41, 51.
The big government secret,
51.
Area 51.
You have that voice. It's crazy.
So anyway, yeah, there's that and all that junk. But thank you.
So give us on the way out, give us a thanks for tuning into This Week in Startups and that deep, really rich voice.
Which one is my camera? This is not time to ask that, but is the one on the right?
I thought maybe one of those two.
Thanks for tuning in to This Week's in. Now, see, this is it. And I'm a cold reader. That's normally I do it without any problem.
Give me that. What do they call it? A hot close? Cold open, hot close? Here we go.
This has been This Week in Startups. Thanks for tuning in and getting the knowledge.
I love it. Boom.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.